we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live Vikings Uncensored. We're coming on a little bit later than normal tonight, but that damn job thing kind of got in the way. We were going to go on at 7, but I didn't get out of work until 6:30, so that wasn't going to work. So we pushed it back to 8, but we're here.
Screw the man.
Yes. And we got a lot of people in the chat already. Good evening, Drew. Good evening, Dave, Doc, everybody in there. Welcome once again. We have reached the official dead period for the National Football League. Training camps are around the corner, a month out, but OTAs, mandatory mini camps.
Any news that comes out from here until training camp is never good news, usually.
Usually not, no. Usually somebody went and did something stupid like driving 130 miles an hour in their Porsche SUV because their dog was sick or whatever. Gotta be
my weave, man. My weave chair. Doc.
Yes. Please welcome my co-host, Jesus Brunswick. Or is it Jesus?
Nah, it's cousin it.
Oh, okay. Gotta be a wig. But yeah, we got a couple of news items we'll talk about here first. Then we'll kind of roll through a wrap up of said OTAs and mini camps, talk about some of the standouts, some of the guys that maybe got a little work ahead of them. Of course, that's pretty good fit right there, Drew. That just get him the hat and he's good to go there. But yeah, so if you guys, when we get into that, you guys got anybody you want to talk about that you saw in any of the mini camp stuff that you stood out?
I want to kick it off with somebody that is intriguing to me.
Okay.
We've been away for a couple of weeks now, and we haven't been able to really touch on this yet. But something that's really intriguing to me is the move from N'Keal Harry from wide receiver to tight end. Now, to me, I believe that could be honestly a boom or a bust move. We've seen what happened to Waller after he switched from receiver to tight end, and I believe Harry has all the talent in the world to be able to make the switch. He's got the body for it. I believe he could be a huge red zone threat if it all works out. So, I mean, that switch to me is either going to be genius or it's gonna sizzle out.
Yeah, somebody else might have something to say about that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But before we get to that, I want to hit the news items to kick them out of the way first. Came out this afternoon. Spicoli Lawrence down in Jacksonville inked a new contract extension, a 5-year deal worth $275 million. $55 million a year, average annual value, $200 million guaranteed, 142 of that fully guaranteed. So I'm guessing the other 38 is the other 38. I'm guessing is injury, but
to get it done sooner than later, as far as especially when it comes to quarterback, smart move by Jacksonville, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, is Trevor Lawrence worth that? I mean, Trevor Lawrence is finally showing
That's
better, I think.
That's just it.
You know,
And the staff around him is much better than what it was when he came in with the whole
well,
Urban
yeah,
Meyer.
because you had Urban Meyer down there, who was an absolute disaster of
Right.
a trainer.
I see nothing but good things for Lawrence moving forward as long as this organization continues to put support around him and the right players. So
yeah, and you know, with Doug Peterson as your head coach, I mean, he's a quarterback friendly guy, you know, quarterback guy. So it's about as good of a situation as Lawrence could have, I guess. So
yeah, and I agree, Sarah. Right now, he's probably not worth $55 million. But I mean, you give the kid a couple of years with the right players around him, and he could eventually surpass his value as far as contract goes, in my opinion. Or it could just end up being he could flame out as well. But I believe in Trevor Lawrence, and I believe if you get the right guys around him, he can be a factor in the AFC with all those other big quarterback names that we're accustomed to hearing a lot of.
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in line with Sarah there. I'm not sold that he's worth that much right now, but when you start looking at the fact that Daniel Jones is getting $50 million a year and Jared Goff got 55 a year, so I mean, it's the going rate for a starting franchise quarterback. Hope Packers pay Love at least 60 million. Yeah, I'd like to see him cash strap themselves and then have the year afterwards have Love completely fall off the face of the planet. Think he's going to be a bust. Who's that, Sarah? Lawrence or Jordan Love?
I think she's talking about Lawrence, but
yeah.
I mean that's possible. It's possible. It just
he's going to be around for a while because he just signed that big contract, and you know,
right.
200 million guaranteed. It not going to be cost effective for them to move on anytime soon. So, and they obviously see enough in him where they don't want to move on because they just gave him a 5-year deal. So, Doc with a very good point there. Going to be drastically underpaid at the end of the deal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
why I said smart move by the Jacksonville organization.
5 years from now, you know, when it comes up, when JJ McCarthy is up for his contract extension after winning the Vikings 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, McCarthy's going to be getting 60 mil a year or something to that effect easily, you know, so 60 to 70 mil, who knows, depending upon what the cap is at that point in time.
Right.
But since we're on the subject of quarterbacks, we have one other elephant in the room that we can finally put a bow on and be done with. The NFL today came out with the punishment. See the quotes, punishment.
Right.
For the Atlanta Falcons tampering, not only with Kirk Cousins, also with Darnell Mooney and Charlie Warner. And of course, you know, when you look back a couple years ago, the Miami Dolphins, when they got caught basically tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton, they lost a first-round pick. Owner Stephen Ross got suspended for 4 months, and the team got fined $1.5 million. So, you know, you could expect something along the same lines as that for the Atlanta Falcons. No, the Atlanta Falcons didn't even get a slap on the wrist. They have to forfeit a 5th-round pick, and the team got fined $250,000, and the general manager, Terry Fontenot, got fined $50,000.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's silly, just silly.
To Sarah's point here, and there was I saw it on Twitter here earlier this afternoon. So after that came out, some NFL executive had made a comment. Can if I can go out and get the number 1 quarterback in free agency and only have to give up a 5th-round pick and $250,000, I'm doing that every day, every year.
Yeah. And then Doc's got a great point there too.
Yeah, that's exactly the point here, and that they should not have been involved in this decision at all because it's a conflict of interest. Obviously, because he's the head of the competition committee. To be fair, they forfeited their 1st-round pick already by drafting Penix. Yeah. I mean, Penix is going to sit there for at least 3 years before he ever sees the field, unless something happens to El Kirko. But
no, I know Sarah was joking with this question that she had up above here about who do we want to sign next year, and let's start recruiting them now. If I'm coming from the outside by the fans, talking to Kevin O'Connell, telling him to tamper, the guy I'm tampering with is Creed Humphreys for sure out of Kansas City.
Yeah, he'd be a guy I would definitely talk to. Find us a I don't know who's coming up as far as free agents for defensive linemen, but we'd do that. Drew, very good point there. I mean, with what Atlanta has and with Kirk, they can probably win the South. But let's be honest, we could take everybody in the chat, put a team together, and damn near win the South. So once you get to the playoffs, of course, different story, and we all know what happens with a certain quarterback down there now when he hits the playoffs. So I'm not overly worried about Atlanta either. It's just the hypocrisy of this whole situation. You know, they want to make a statement and they want to come down on these people to keep them from tampering. This is not how you do it. This is go ahead and tamper. We don't give a shit.
I don't want to say it's even a hot take. I mean, we didn't make the playoffs when Kirk came here. It's his first 2 years.
Yeah, so, we only made it 2 of the 6.
Kirk is the kind of quarterback that's always gonna hover right around 500. And if you can squeak a couple more wins out of him, great. But otherwise, he's always been a 500 type of quarterback.
Yep. So anyway, we've talked enough about Kirk. We can finally put a bow on it. We won't talk about him again until it comes to the game that we have against the Falcons later in the year. So we can move on from that. And with that, let's move on to the wrap-up of OTAs, mini camps, all that kind of good stuff. And start off by talking out about some of the standouts that have kind of made a name for themselves. Viker Podcast, good evening. Welcome to the show. But some of the guys who are kind of making a name for themselves so far in the Skull Mafia, good evening. Starting off with one of the veteran free agents we picked up this year, cornerback Shaq Griffin.
Yeah.
By all accounts, he has been showing up big time.
It's real good for sure.
Had a couple of passes defensed against Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
In minicamp this week.
I think we touched base with him on our last episode as well, and he was looking good. So I mean, it's great to see the rise of Shaq Griffin again. You know, I would love to see nothing but great things.
Josh Metellus came out and said that Shaq Griffin gives him a lot of Patrick Peterson vibes. And
I don't think he's quite 30 yet either. I think he's hovering right around 28 or 29.
He's 20. I think he's 29 or something right in there. But Metellus is saying that Shaq Griffin is out there he's working with the young guys. He's giving them tips. He's helping them out, that being that mentor.
I love the Griffin pickup, to be honest with you.
I did too. And if he plays like he's capable of, it's better than, it's as good as having a 3rd round pick. Definitely vet presence in the locker room. Absolutely. And that's with that quarterback room. It's very needed. Yeah. I mean, you got Byron Murphy Jr., who's the only guy, true veteran in there.
And he might Murphy at this point, age wise might just be entering his prime. I mean, he was a veteran presence, but not, much of a veteran presence.
Right. And, now Murphy gets to move inside. He had to play outside fair amount last year, which is out of position for him. So moving him inside, getting Shaq Griffin out on the outside. And then we've got the cluster of guys vying for that other starting job.
This quarterback setup could be completely different from what we've seen last year as far as
oh, absolutely.
The personnel that are out in the field.
Yeah, Murphy moving to the slot, should put food on the tables. Yep, that's his natural position. That's where he's best suited, and I think that's going to make a big difference.
It should. And, trying to make a slot guy move to outside, that's not easy.
No.
That's not easy as a player to do. So I'm liking the way this cornerback competition is shaping out.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about some more of the cornerbacks here in a bit, but we got one more cornerback in the standouts that I want to mention first, and then we'll move on to the next group. Undrafted rookie free agent Dwight McGlothern.
Yep.
Been looking pretty damn good for by all accounts. Again, taller kid. He's about 6'3", I think, something like that, 6'2", 6'3". So getting some height back in that secondary, which is what killed us at the end of the year last year, because teams found out they could throw it up over the top, and our 5'10" to 6 foot corners couldn't go up and out jump these 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers.
I mean, even on some of those replays, you could just see that their hand just wasn't getting to the ball, and the guys were just out jumping them. Yeah.
Yep. So, but McGlothern even got some run with some of the ones this past week. So that bodes well for the kid. I mean, and he was a guy when we picked him up in as a UDFA. I mentioned it right. That he's a guy that to keep an eye on, because he could make a push for this roster. And I think, early returns are good enough anyway. Kyrie Jackson, I haven't heard a ton about him yet. He's still running with most of the young guys. He hasn't worked his way up into, with the ones and the twos. I think he's running more with the threes at the moment. Doesn't mean anything at this point in time in the offseason. It means more that he's a rookie.
Once
and
training
learning.
camp comes around, that's when it really, the meat and potatoes of the whole roster shaping up comes to fruition.
Yep. But I mean, they obviously like Kyrie Jackson. Durante Jones is the secondary coach. He pounded the table for this kid when they come up to draft him. So
I did see something about Jalen Williams as well, having a good mini camp and OTAs as well. And he's kind of a name that's been that you don't hear much about.
Right. Kind of another one of those under the radar guys.
But he's been having a good offseason as well in that quarterback group. This quarterback group, like I said 5 minutes ago, is gonna, if we can get that back end to complement that pass rush, it's gonna be an amazing thing.
Yep. So let's finish off the secondary. The other guy that's really stood out so far is safety Theo Jackson. He made his mark on special teams last year and actually played a fair amount. In
the snaps he was given, he made the most of it last year for sure.
Yep. Sarah, we'll talk about him a little bit later on, but I agree with this. I love that idea on the whole thing. But Theo Jackson, I mean, he was running with the ones for a while when Harrison Smith was taking a breather, or Cam Bynum took a breather for a while. He was in there. I
can't say enough about our way of finding talent at the safety position in the last 5 years. 5 to 8 years.
You look at Josh Metellus, you look at Cam Bynum, you look at now Theo Jackson working his way up in there.
Outside of Lewis Seen, excuse me.
Yep. And we'll talk about
who remains to be seen.
Yeah. But then one more guy on the defense, and we'll move over to some of the offensive guys. Dallas Turner has been impressing a lot of people, especially with Van Ginkel still not practicing due to his foot injury. So Turner has gotten some run, and he's been making the most of it. I know we talked about this.
I also heard
the other
that the tandem of Grenard and Turner, they look like monsters was the word that they used on defense.
Yep. And that was, we talked about this at the last show, I believe, where they were talking about him, and Darisaw said that, he's seen Turner put on moves that were better than what Daniil Hunter used to put on. So, I mean, that bodes well there as well, I think.
And he's young, not like 24 young, like I'm talking 22, 20. Yeah, 22.
He's 20. Is he even 22 yet? Or I think he's 21.
I don't know that he is. He's 21 or 22, but yeah. And to say that about a kid that age coming up is a big compliment.
Yep. Then we'll roll over to the offensive side of things. Okay, first and foremost, quarterback Sam Darnold has apparently been lighting it up in camp. He's by all accounts, he's been looking very consistent. He's got good ball placement. He's got really good command of the huddle, and he's, working with the guys. They're falling in behind him. They're supporting him. They're doing all this. It's he is looking like, what we talked about. There was a possibility that in this system, the best system that Sam Darnold has been in, he has a possibility to have a very good year. And I made the hot take pick a month ago that Sam Darnold will lead this team to the playoffs, at least as a wild card.
Oh yeah, we've been talking like that for sure for a while now.
Yep.
And this is by far the best organization outside of San Francisco and Carolina and the New York Jets that Darnold has been in. The personnel around this guy is top notch right now. Mm-hmm. And the dude was drafted 3rd overall. And what Darnold's been through and what was asked of him, I don't think anybody would be able to overcome those odds as far as that goes. And if we could go on to see like a Rich Gannon type of resurgence in a career, or a few other examples that could be tossed out there, I'm all for it. And just because Darnold comes in and starts doesn't mean that McCarthy sucks. And a lot of the people out there that look at it like that are there's going to be a lot of fans out there that see it that way. Well, McCarthy couldn't beat out Darnold. Well, hopefully Darnold shows them all why.
Right. And if Darnold plays so well that they cannot start,
that's good.
JJ McCarthy this year, I am fine with that.
That's a good problem to have. That's a good problem.
Because if Darnold plays that well, that means our prediction is coming true and we're making the playoffs with him. And I think he stands a very good chance. I think, that season last year where he was the backup in San Francisco, I think sitting under Shanahan for a year helped him out considerably.
Oh yeah.
And now moving into the similar style offense,
that helped him out considerably for sure.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
And I mean, the guys are lauding this guy's arm talent. I mean, he's making great throws. And I mean, like wow throw type of throws, not just your okay, cool, you can make that throw. No, like wow throws during off season so far.
Right. Then on to another veteran that we brought in. Aaron Jones has been looking extremely good so far. They've been getting him in the short passing game. He's been showing. I heard one of the beat writers that was at one of the practices, say that Aaron Jones looked like he had burst the same as, peak Green Bay in his best years over there. And
from what I've seen last year, he hasn't lost a step at all.
No,
and
I mean,
he showed
that's what got Green Bay to the playoffs last year.
That's what got Jordan Love the love that he got last year. Was a huge reason why was Aaron Jones.
Oh, absolutely it was. There was no coincidence that once Aaron Jones came back from injury, the Packers took off and,
Depending on what Josh Jacobs is able to do for Green Bay over there, Jordan Love is going to really miss having Aaron Jones in his backfield.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm Packer fan tagged Jones saying he looked unhappy being in Minnesota.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah.
No, from everything I've seen, he's happy to be here. He's enjoying being part of this team, being part of the offense, being a leader on this team already.
And it was because he wasn't smiling in a photo shoot. How fucking petty is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm excited as hell. Aaron Jones is another guy, even though he played for Green Bay, I always respected the hell out of him because he's a damn good player. Now, can he stay healthy? That's the big question. But I think we are going to be looking this year at similar to what Green Bay did with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, with Mr. Ty Chandler playing the role of A.J. Dillon, because there's been a lot of glowing talk coming out about how well Ty Chandler is doing in the
Ty Chandler should have been given the
preseason
starting
too.
role last season to start the year.
Yeah.
So,
But
I do like this 1-2 punch that you're alluding to.
I think so too. I mean, it's, Chandler showed, I thought he showed a lot in the amount of time he played last year.
And he had that one huge touchdown run brought back on a fucking bullshit penalty call.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked good and the reps that he took on offense and the handoffs that he grabbed. So I mean, I liked what I seen out of Chandler, his first real workload last year.
Yeah, that one that touchdown got called back. It was a holding call on Brian O'Neill. If I remember,
Yeah, it was
correctly,
a bullshit holding call, and it took us out.
Yeah,
of the game.
it was a bullshit call. I remember that exactly, Sarah. And if there's a good player leaving Green Bay that wants to come here and get even with Green Bay, I'm fine with that.
And Drew, yeah, I think that's something as KOC as coach needs to work on.
Yeah.
Make sure you get the best guys on the field despite your personal feelings towards players.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the end of the day, it's the best guys should play regardless. And I feel like KOC, and I felt this in a few instances, but with Madison for sure, and a lot of us fans did, is that favoritism. He got to play, got to start because KOC felt like he had earned the reason to start.
Promised him a thing or whatever.
But in all reality, Chandler should have been in there to begin with to start the season as number one.
Yeah, and I'm hoping KOC has learned from that because he made a comment. I think it was on Rich Eisen's show yesterday, day before, whatever it was. They talked about the Dalton Reisner signing coming back in, and it was it's been widely assumed that he was in there to compete against Blake Brandel for the left guard spot, and O'Connell said straight out he will be competing with both Blake Brandel and Ed Ingram, and the two best guys will be the two guys that start.
Good. That's what you want to hear. Competition brings out the best. Yeah, honestly. So yeah.
So whether it's Brandel and Ingram, whether it's Ingram and Reisner, whether it's Reisner and Brandel, I don't care as long as the best two guys are.
Whoever's outperforming the guys that are playing at the top level are going to be the one that are lining up on game day and starting.
Yep. So last guy I have anyway, speaking of ex-Packers, tight end Robert Tonyan has been – he has stepped in and he has been playing extremely well. I think, he's going to step right in and he's going to be that red zone threat until Hawkinson gets back at least.
Yeah. By all accounts, he stepped right in and grabbed that brass ring right away as far as like leadership goes and just leading by, what he's showing on the field during practice.
Yeah. But he's another one that, the beat writers have been saying, he looks like he did in that year with Green Bay, a couple years back when he caught 13 touchdown passes.
Well, yeah. And that goes straight back to who you have throwing you the ball and the guy knowing how to disperse the ball to the right players in certain situations. And when you're playing with a rookie that still has to work on his arm, it doesn't make things easier for you at your position if you're receiving balls. So,
no. Good evening, GMAC. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know anybody else that you've heard, that's been kind of making a name for themselves, or do we get most of them covered?
Addison's looking really good. I think we touched a little bit on him last episode.
Yep. Yeah,
he's been looking really good.
He's got a lot more.
Ivan Pace has been looking good on defense.
Yep.
They said he's taking another step in the right direction,
which is which is a good thing.
Any other receivers I can think of right now that I've heard in the last week? No. So
Sherfield's been
looking okay,
decent. So that's
that wide receiver 3 is one competition at camp. I'm really going to keep a close eye on for sure.
Right. Norsfius, good evening. Also.
Oh, and just a hot take, or I'm just going to throw this out there.
Thomas, yeah, he's another one.
Yes, I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
Somebody I wouldn't mind taking a look at is the Hakeem Butler out of the USFL that won Offensive Player of the Year. Bringing him in. He's available out there in free agency. I know that you guys have asked last week. If there's somebody that we'd be willing to look at, well, he's definitely one of them. I'd be willing to take a look at it. Bring him
Well,
in for camp.
and interestingly enough,
Yeah,
our offensive coordinator's father
coached him.
Wade Phillips was his coach in the UFL, so Wes would have an inside track on that there. So yeah, I mean it's entirely within the realm of possibility that they would bring him in for a workout and have that inside track if they so desire.
Who was the team that he played for? The Stampeders, I think, was their name in the USFL. He was the offensive player of the year for the USFL. So if that's who you're looking at,
that was Birmingham, wasn't it? The Battle
Birmingham Stallions
could be.
Regardless, he played in the USFL. He's the offensive player of the year for that league.
Yep.
I would take a look at him. There you go, Ant. If you want to just look it up like that, you'll find him. So
yeah, just look up Hakeem Butler UFL, and you'll find out what you need to know.
Right.
But let's move on to some of the guys who probably have their work cut out for them once camp opens here in about a month. First guy, and I mean, we've been heard big things about this kid the entire time since he's been here, but injuries and illnesses and all this stuff has been keeping him off the field, and that is wide receiver Jalen Naylor. They said he was very impressive during the first round of OTAs, but then he missed the entire mini camp because he had some sort of illness.
Had it with Naylor, to be honest with you. Now watch, we let him go and he goes somewhere and he stays healthy and he lights it up. But at this point, honestly, the kid just can't fucking stay on the field. It's always something, it seems like. I love the kid coming out. I had high hopes for him. And now it's going on year 3 where I've had high hopes for this kid. And outside of that Chicago game, I've yet to be showing anything.
Yeah. He's, we've had a lot of these guys that were hype, a lot of hype and stuff coming in, and they just, but, and I honestly think the team wants Jalen Naylor to be that wide receiver.
That's
3.
what I think that's what they all penciled in at first, was the hope that Naylor would come out and be able to secure that number 3 spot.
Yeah. But if he can't stay healthy, you can't, then we're looking at Brandon Powell and Sherfield and some of these other guys, that are fighting for that spot.
I did. And we talked the other night about defensive tackles. And yeah, that's definitely a name I say you should keep an eye on throughout training camp.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm looking forward for him to making that next step this year and actually being able to play some significant time and be a solid contributor. So,
and I think he'll have the reason he didn't play a lot last year is because a lot of the guys that were in front of him, he just has to earn his starting spot, just like Chandler did. I look for Roy, once he gets that bigger role, to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Then, of course, the biggest name that we hear constantly is safety Lewis Cine. He's been overtaken on the depth chart by both Theo Jackson and Jay Ward. For a first-round pick, he just.
I didn't like that pick to begin with, Ryno. And I remember when I picked him,
I didn't either.
I bitched about it. I just have never liked that pick, and it has not translated yet to the NFL. So
no, we both wanted another safety that shall remain nameless because we hear it every time somebody says the words Lewis Cine. But it is very possible that, if not likely, that Lewis Cine does not make the final 53 for this team. In fact, I say right. I mean, he's on the outside looking in right now.
Right. He's definitely one of the bubble guys for sure. And with Sarah has a comment here about Cine, Booth, Evans, and Asamoah. I'm almost to the same level that I am with Cine and Naylor as I am with Asamoah. I wanted to see a lot out of him last year, and it's just been there's been nothing there.
Yeah. I mean,
outside the fumble,
he does all right on special teams, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. But he's got to be able to pull a little bit more, and with now Cashman coming in, and of course Evans
might not even make the team either this year. To be honest with you,
he was the next guy on my list as a potential. I think of the question mark guys, he probably has one of the better chances of making it, but it's far from a guarantee. Especially when
a lot of these guys in the first draft that Quessy had are on the bubble.
Yeah.
Outside of Ingram and Chandler.
Yeah, I mean, you got Mekhi Blackman who's in there fighting for a spot, and who garnered a fair amount of play.
Blackman's making the 53.
Yeah, Blackman makes it. But now you drafted Kyrie Jackson. You got the aforementioned Dwight McGlothern, who we talked about earlier. Shaq Griffin coming in. I mean, that cornerback room is crowded right now, and there's a lot of these guys that probably aren't going to make it. Another guy on there that I think right now is on the outside looking in is Andrew Booth Jr.
Yeah,
another guy who cannot stay healthy. And
but you know what? Randy fucking Savage said it best when he says, "Ooh yeah, the cream rises to the top." And that's what's going to happen here in training camp this season.
Yeah, because we're going to have to see the cream rise up to the top. Yeah. And if they can't rise up to the top, then they're going to be out the door. Yeah. And I do a very shitty Randy Savage. I apologize for that, but.
But yeah, that quarterback room, I mean, it's good. Shake it out. Get all the guys that aren't worth having here and get all the best out that they're playing.
Yeah. Should try to trade the guys. I don't know.
Trade garbage.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going to get for him. You might be able to get something from Scene just because he's a first-round pick. But
and the reason why these guys aren't tradable is because you haven't seen anything that's worth trading for.
Right. So I mean,
outside of youth and potential, that's all you're looking at. As far as trade potential goes.
Yes, Drew, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, you might be able to get a 7th-round pick or something for a Booth or a Lewis Scene, somebody like, some of that stuff. But yeah, and to G-Mac's point, a couple of 7th-rounders is better than nothing. Very true. But
that is true. Yeah, that's true.
Right now, if they're not going to make the roster, and you're pretty sure they're not going to, if you can trade them for anything, yeah, you make that deal right now.
It's just that, yes, I agree with that.
Yep. Beyond that, a couple other guys, Brian Asamoah, we talked about him briefly there. He's got to step up and he's got to show some stuff. I was excited after his rookie, during his rookie year, that we were going to actually get to see something out of him. I thought that he was going to make that step last year. And then,
apparently he battled through injuries last season. And like I said, that's putting him in the category along with Naylor. And the fact that we've gotten better talent-wise at that position that he plays, it doesn't bode well for Asamoah. No.
Sarah with a good point here. C needs to go to a team that runs a Fangio system. Yeah, I think that probably would be a better spot for him. And that's been the biggest thing here is he apparently is having trouble processing all the exotic concepts and things like that. He might need to go
to the CFL. I don't know, but yeah, I haven't seen or heard anything good about seeing since his rookie season. As far as hearing things goes, I didn't see anything out of him his rookie year.
Yeah, but, he's literally been heard but not seen the entire time he's been in the league.
So. Yeah, another Sasquatch that we've had on our roster. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Then a couple other guys I want to throw out here. At the edge rush group, Patrick Jones the second and Andre Carter the second. Two guys that all of a sudden, before free agency and the draft, were looking at as basically the top two guys in the room, now have been pushed down the list considerably, because you've got, of course, rookie standout Dallas Turner. We have Jonathan Gennard. We also have Andrew Van Ginkel coming in.
Depth, man, is a good word for this discussion tonight.
Jihad Ward is in there now, who has the ability to play a little bit. So they're going to have to step up their game. And I mean, Patrick Jones is another guy I had high hopes for a couple years ago, and he's just never taken
At
that
least he
next
actually
step.
sees the field, but I mean, he
Yeah.
just isn't. I mean, he's getting to the quarterback, but he's not bringing him down a lot of the times.
Right. And the problem with Carter last year is, why he went undrafted. It was
So
because he
fucking
was
tall.
too,
He needs to work on his bend around the edge.
he was
for
too,
sure.
he was tall and he was too light framed. Now I thought I heard that he has put on some weight over the off season and kind of bulked up a little bit, which should help him. But, we've brought in those 3 guys. We've also got the kid out of UCLA that we brought in as an undrafted free agent this year.
Murphy.
Gabriel Murphy, that I think, can make a push for the roster.
And some of these guys are going to make some noise once those pads go on,
Yeah.
And
that's when we're going to start. The rubber's going to start hitting the road, is when you start hitting each other, start getting those joint practices, that we've got lined up, things like that, where you get some actual competition, get into preseason games and watch them play a little bit.
Yep.
That's going to tell the tale a lot right there. So, anybody else on the list for you, Lance? I think I ran through everybody that I had, or anybody else. Anybody in the chat have anybody else that basically being put on notice prior to the start of training camp here? If not, we will roll into a little bit of miscellaneous type stuff here. Mostly, we'll call this the JJ McCarthy section of the show. They, true to their word, the Vikings have been taking it very slow with McCarthy. They've been very deliberate on what gets out into the media and, the videos and stuff that come out of it. As something, they're not pushing too much good stuff. And they're not, of course, highlighting the bad stuff either. Just they're letting him go through his progressions. They said that I forget if it was Wes Phillips or Josh McCown the other day had said something to the point of, a lot of what they've been doing in these OTAs and stuff is trying to overload McCarthy. Give him this, give him this, give him this, give him this, and then tell him to go out and execute it. And to his credit, he has done a very good job of being able to go out and, very quick on the learn and then get out there and show it on the field. Now, there's the typical rookie stuff. He's, hasn't developed that rapport with the receivers and stuff yet. So there's some he's not, hasn't got that chemistry down to where he knows the routes and things like that yet that they're exactly running.
And they're also working on a little bit of his mechanics with his footwork as well, which is affecting.
Yeah, they're
So
working on getting him to throw off. Apparently, when he come out of the shotgun before, he was always throwing off his right foot. So they're trying to switch it around to get him to throw off his left foot with this.
And that's gonna affect the way he throws the ball for a little bit until it starts to click together, and is smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But Kevin O'Connell said the other day that McCarthy's basically been wearing him out in the facility. He's been working his ass off, doing everything they've asked of him and more, and basically confirming all the stuff that they thought about him in the pre-draft process. That he is that kid. He is that smart. He is, a guy that's going to do what it takes to be part of this. And I forget who mentioned it earlier, but I think it was Sarah. But McCarthy, they said on the, during this month off, a lot of the players are going on a vacation. They're going to the Bahamas. They're going here. They're going there to take that part off.
GMAC has a great comment there.
Yep, I will get to that one in just a second. But McCarthy has said he did enough traveling when he's doing all of his pre-draft visits and all this other. He said he is planning on spending most of the next month in the facility, studying playbook, learning plays, working on his mechanics and all that other stuff, whether it's on his own or he's got some of the staff working with him. But he's planning on being basically hitting the books for the next month to have the best opportunity available when he hits training camp at the end of July.
Yep. And it's still, and McCarthy is throwing, or not McCarthy, but KOC is throwing this out there is that, it's still nobody's, going into camp, Darnold is the number one quarterback, but it's still an open competition.
Yeah.
And
I think right now it's Darnold's job to lose.
Right.
And that's fine.
And going on that with what GMAC has to say here, for me anyways, I would be a 1, at this point. You guys knew before the draft and after the draft how badly I wanted to see McCarthy in this offense, but with Darnold balling out the way he is and that team rallying around him and minicamp and OTAs and making plays for him, regardless of when McCarthy starts, I'm going to be excited as fuck to see it. If it means that we can still win and still play without him and get those wins and let him marinate for a little bit, that's fine by me.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. And, again, what we saw, McCarthy would be, yeah. And while that was one of the things that, that when McCarthy was part of the recruiting process, he told players coming into Michigan, if you're coming here to party and chase girls, he said, go someplace else because we're here to win national championships, not goof around. But yeah, to Sarah's point, yeah, it's refreshing to see a quarterback who's gives a shit.
Yeah, Dave and Sarah both. I think Dave made a good comment that he just popped up.
And we're not just talking about the guy who was here previously. We're talking about any teams in general. Is Caleb Williams going to be in Chicago for the entire month off? I don't know. I haven't heard, but
that's just another reason why I love this kid so much, and I'm so excited for the future and seeing him in it. But like I said, if it means that we can go with Darnold right now and let him lead the team and still be able to pull off some wins and rally behind Darnold, I'm all for that as well. But
absolutely.
In the back of my mind, man, I'm ready for McCarthy time. When that time comes.
Yeah, but true, and this is the thing. I know we all want to see McCarthy and all this and that, and we've talked about this countless times, that this is the moment that we hired Kevin O'Connell to be the head coach for, to have that rookie quarterback to mold him and develop him into a franchise guy who can play here for the next 10 to 15 years. There we go. But so I'm ecstatic about McCarthy. With the process. I know, and it's hard not to get excited and expect too much too soon with the kid. But true to their word so far, they're going to do everything that they can to make this kid develop for the long term. They're not going to throw him to the wolves before he's ready.
I'm excited to see how Sam Darnold attacks this giant mountain. Mountain that he has in front of him. Yep. This is his time to, like I said a couple of weeks ago, completely turn the narrative on his career around.
Mm-hmm.
He could be, a very highly sought after quarterback after this upcoming season. At season's end.
I think there's a very good possibility. Could be that Baker Mayfield type guy that could go out and resurrect his career and go get a decent contract with whether it's coming back with the Vikings for another year or so, which that I don't know about, or going someplace else or
franchise him and trade him, whatever it may be. But I honestly believe that he can replicate or become a higher, as far as the Baker Mayfield from last year goes, with the talent that is here in the building that we have.
Yeah. But if we could get a Baker Mayfield type performance out of Sam Darnold this year, I'm going to mark that as a success. Anthony asked a question here.
Quick to shit on Darnold when we signed him too.
Yep. Anthony asked a question here a little while back. I wanted to get to that before we got too far out of it. What 3 tight ends do you think make the roster?
It might be 4. Honestly, that depends on if Ham makes the roster or not, I think.
CJ Ham will make the roster. He's a captain. He's a special teams guy. I think he will. But I think they probably carry 4 tight ends. And to start with, it's pretty cut and dried. I think it's going to be Josh Oliver. It's going to be Tunyon. It's going to be the best third tight end in the league, Johnny Munt. and probably Nick
I think
Muse.
Harry sticks. I think Harry sticks I believe that's a great move.
If he can beat out Nick Muse, more power to him. I don't think he will, but I mean, Nick Muse is another guy we've been expecting to see stuff out of for about the last 3 years, and we still haven't got that yet. So
yeah.
But then when of course Hawkinson comes back, which is looking like probably October timeframe. Then
one of those guys will get bumped out of the practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, because of course it'll be. I think Tanyan sticks, even when
Yep.
And Johnny Munt is
a tight end room a tight end room of TJ Hawkinson, and Josh Oliver,
and Robert Tanyan. That's a pretty good.
Is a pretty appealing tight end room to me.
Yeah. And I still think Josh Oliver is very underrated as far as pass catching. I mean,
I agree.
Sarah with a very good point. That Drew kind of worried KOC might try to change his style and ruin him. I don't think that's going to happen, Drew. I
don't think so either. I think KOC has been asking for this type of quarterback. This is the guy this is the type of quarterback he's been asking. A guy that can. He's went out of his way to say this. I want a quarterback that can make plays when things break down with
outside of structure and things. And that's the thing with the first 2 years they've been here, they know they had to go that way because that's what Kirk Cousins was. Kirk Cousins is not an improv guy. He can't work outside of structure. He doesn't get outside the pocket and scramble and RPOs and things like that. He is a stand in the pocket passer, stand there and overthink things until he holds the ball for 7 seconds and gets sacked.
Right.
But I think, Darnold as well. Darnold's got mobility. Darnold can move around. He can get outside the pocket and do things as well. So
Darnold and JJ are pretty comparable as far as play styles go, in my opinion. So
McCarthy's quite a bit more athletic, I think. You watch some of the highlights. There's that one play, I forget which one it was. I think it was against Iowa when they Blake Corum was taking off, going down the sidelines, and JJ McCarthy outran Blake Corum, got in front of him, and threw a block.
Yeah, you're not going to see Darnold doing that, but I mean, Darnold is sneaky athletic. He's got some wheels there.
Yeah, but
he can get outside the pocket.
McCarthy's got a little bit of that Brett Favre play style to him. I think. I think he's a little more careful with the ball. Sure. He's more careful with the ball than Favre did. But that love of the game and that
McCarthy magic. McCarthy magic is going to be a term that's going to come around to when he takes the field for sure. Yeah, I truly believe that.
Yeah, good point, Northfield. If you have not done so yet, hit that like button up there. We got 42 people watching, so make sure you hit that like while you're in here before you leave at some point in time. That would be awesome. We would love that. FSU, this isn't college baseball, Ant. We don't care.
What the fuck? Why did you even pop that comment up there for? What the fuck? FSU baseball.
So McCarthy's took IMG. He was slinging the ball. That's just the point, Sarah.
Yeah,
the kid has been a winner no matter what level he's been at. He has like 3 losses in his entire high school and collegiate career. 4 losses. Okay.
4. But yes, people don't realize that he was throwing this rock all over the field before he went to Michigan.
Yeah, let's hope not, Drew, at least. Although it was Jen Sturger, as Drew said earlier about Miss Elizabeth, there's a little bit of meowage going on there, but anyway, that's about all I got. You got anything else you want to hit there tonight, Lance?
I think we wrapped her up pretty well.
All right. So with that, unless anybody has anything in the chat we want to talk about real quick, we'll wrap her up here. We're getting on close to an hour anyway. Programming note, this will be our last show for about a month. We're going to go on to about a 1-month hiatus. Got a lot of stuff going on here. I'm in process of moving. So when we come back, I will have a new studio, hopefully quality internet that keeps me up and running at the whole time. So besides some time off for that. I'm also going overseas here in about 10 days, so I'll be gone over there, or going to go pay a visit to the Filipino fan club. We'll put it that way. Yeah, so we'll be out and about, and we'll be back prior to training camp.
I'd say the week before training camp, probably.
Yeah, probably the week before training camp. And get ready for all the breakdown stuff to hit it hard and heavy all the way through training camp into the season and beyond.
God,
Will Lance have a new wig? I think Lance should get some hair gel and just spike that whole shit straight up like the Slim Jim guy that was in there for. How do you think the Filipino fan club came to be there, Norsevius? But anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for joining tonight. Had a great crowd tonight. Great discussions as always. Really enjoyed the talk. We're in the dead time. If anything of any great importance comes up, we will probably hop on for
It'll be on the page. It'll be on the page.
We'll put it on the page. We might, if it's significant enough, we'll do a Ryno's Rants or a quick short show for it or something. But Ant, I am moving just down the road a ways, buying a house that'll have a studio in it and all kinds of good stuff like that. So we'll be back upgraded from the curtain behind me into an actual studio. So looking forward to that.
What you got to do is have somebody in the actual shower behind you, behind that shower curtain.
But anyway, with that, thank you again, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate it, as always. And with that, Lance, why don't you take us home?
Well, everybody, enjoy your next 4 weeks. Enjoy summer. Go out to the lake. Enjoy nature. And we'll be back the week before training camp, and we'll catch all up on what news might be then. And like Ryno alluded to, if there's anything big that comes out, we'll either hit it up on our page or we'll get it to you. So appreciate you all. I love these like hour a week that we get to sit down and break down everything Vikings. So I appreciate you all. If you haven't yet already, like and follow the page, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, we'll see you in a few weeks. Millie and Aubrey, if you're out there watching, Dad loves and misses you. Skull.
All right. Have a good next month, guys. We'll see you soon.